Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about some of our popular rabbits that we have in our small animal room. We're going to talk about what's the difference between some of the breeds that we get in. I do want to mention that first off, this cage that you're seeing today, this is simply a travel cage. This bunny and any other bunny that you have requires a much larger cage. So this is our travel cage. We used it today to bring some of the bunnies back to the photo studio. The bunny that we have in here is a Holland Lop. And a Holland Lop is considered to be one of the friendliest breeds. Now that doesn't mean they're all the same, but in general, if you're trying to generalize, a Holland Lop would be a friendlier breed, one that's more laid back and accepting to be handled and touched a little bit by humans. We have different kind of rabbits that we're going to look at, and the smallest one we're going to look at is a dwarf rabbit. Dwarf rabbits can reach up to 4 pounds. Then you have your mini rabbits, so your mini lop rabbits, and those typically run anywhere from 4 to 6 pounds. Then you have what we call the standard size rabbit, which runs anywhere from 6 to 8, sometimes 12 pounds. And then you have your giant breeds, and we have one of those today too. We have a Flemish Giant we're going to show you. And the Flemish Giants can reach weights up to 20 pounds, sometimes even a little more. And they are another breed that's known to be on the laid-back side, a little friendlier. And a lot of people want to know, well, how do you distinguish the breeds? There are a couple things that distinguish the breeds. One is size. So we talked about dwarf, we talked mini, standard, and giant. So there are different ways that you could group the rabbits into sizes. So that's one way that you determine what type of breed rabbit you might have if you're not sure. This one is a Holland Lop, so that is its own breed, but we do have some mixed that we'll show you today. We have a Lionhead that's mixed with a Lop. We also have a Flemish Giant that's mixed. So one thing is the size. Another thing is the type of fur. Some rabbits have what we call rollback fur, and that simply means when you brush the hair on the rabbit from the rump to the face, the fur sort of just like rolls back into position. Other is called flyback. Flyback means when you touch that fur and you rub it from the rump up to the face, it flies back very quickly into place. And then you have rabbits that have wool, which their fur really doesn't move around too much. So that's another way that you distinguish different types of breeds. Now I think we'll take a look at another type of rabbit that we have here today. Okay, and here we have one of our dwarf rabbits. And this is not a Netherland dwarf. The Netherlands would only be about 2 pounds. This guy is probably going between 3 and 4 pounds. I describe them as the size of a football when they're full grown. So people think, they see them when they're really tiny and they think they're going to stay that small. But unless you have the Netherland, you're going to get a little bit more size on your dwarf bunny. And some people look at a dwarf bunny and they think, oh, well, then I can have a smaller cage. Not true. Okay, all the bunnies require larger enclosures. The dwarf bunny is actually going to probably be more active than something like a giant breed. So it's not true that the dwarf bunny needs less space. They actually all need a lot of space and a lot of time outside of their cage. And again, this was our travel cage, but we would have them in a large enclosure with a play yard. We mean that they do like the company of another rabbit, but what's very important is you need to get them spayed or neutered. They make a much better pet when they are spayed or neutered. No worry about hormone explosions, and they will get along with other rabbits for a long period of time. Sometimes when we have young rabbits, we can put them together and they'll get along just fine, but once they get mature, you need to separate them, otherwise you're going to have more rabbits. So this is one of our Lionhead mixes, and the Lionhead bunnies have the long woolly fur. So we talked about fur type distinguishing breeds. This one has the woolly fur. This guy would require extra grooming. You're going to see the shape of his body, and if you look on the mini lop, they're pretty similar in shape. And then you look and you see the positioning of the ears. That's another way that you distinguish between different breeds of rabbit. Some rabbits have the typical where the ears go straight up in the air. Some, like our Holland Lop, have it that the ears lock over and frame out the face. And then this guy just sort of has ears that lay back a little bit. So that's another way that you distinguish between the different breeds of rabbits. And we talked a little about temperament too. They do breed things into all different kind of animals, and rabbits are no different. And they do like to breed different rabbits to get temperament, to get a nice, easygoing, laid-back bunny. And Holland Lops, good, easy, laid-back. Lionhead's very good, easy, laid-back. And same with the Flemish Giants. They're usually not as high-strung, not as hyper as some of the other breeds. So the Lionhead is another good choice. Now we have one of our Flemish Giant mixes. And this is one of the largest rabbits. Originally they were bred for the meat, but they figured out that the Flemish Giant actually had a wonderful laid-back personality that made it a great pet. And they are very large boned. Instead of having a lot of meat on the rabbit, they have large bones, so they weren't really good in the meat industry, which is wonderful because they make wonderful pets. And this guy is just a baby. When the rabbits come to us, they're at least 8 weeks old. They typically somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks old they come in, so this is indeed still a baby, but you can see how much larger it is than the other rabbits that we took a look at. And imagine this rabbit getting 22 pounds. And again, you see this rabbit has the upright ears, where the other ears we looked at were in different positions. This is a rabbit with what we call typical ears, which means that they're upright on the bunny. And the shape of the body is quite different. You'll see it's more long, rectangle shaped, whereas the other ones are a little bit rounder. And the Dwarf, of course, was shaped like a football. But the Flemish Giants, wonderful, wonderful pets. And again, easy, laid-back pets. So they make a good choice for a breed.